Hello my lovelies and welcome back to my channel. Today is day 4, we're almost there, day 4 of our Rosie sew along. Today we'll be focusing on the zipper panel and the gusset. So we'll be creating that loop that goes around the front and the back panel in the middle. So you will need to grab for today your zipper that needs to be cut the length in the pattern. You need one or two zipper pulls, depending on if you're doing a double or not. You'll also need your two main panels, zipper panels. There's a back and a front one. The same thing for the lining. And you will also need the gusset, the main and the lining. Cool. Most important thing in today's step is making sure that you have your zipper panels marked. You need to make sure that your zipper panels are properly marked, which one is in the front and which one is in the back. Again, like I've said, in the first day I've messed it up. The first time around I've messed up the lining. I put the front good, but the lining I did it backwards and it was a total disaster. So we're not gonna do that. We're gonna make sure that you have the notches done. So the front panel has the notch up here and the back panel has the notch down, and same thing for the lining. Highly important that you don't mix them up. Let's start by grabbing the outer, so the exterior panels and your zipper, and we're going to mark the center of the zipper. I'm not adding the zipper pulls just yet, we're gonna add that later, but I do want, here it is. I do want to seal the ends with a lighter. This is just nylon tape. So I'm going to mark the center of this zipper tape with two markings. I'm not going to cut, you don't want to cut the zipper tape so it doesn't unravel, but just use a pen and mark it center. And we're going to start with the bottom panel, so the one that has the notch at the top. You see that little notch here? This is the front panel when you look at the back. So I'm going to pin this in place. Shannon does recommend adding a strip of double-sided tape, and you should. I've done it that way. My double-sided tape is very sticky. So when the steps were, when the following steps were saying to remove the double-sided tape, it was so hard to remove it, and that was like my first Rosie. So on my second Rosie, I decided to skip this step just because my double-sided tape is extremely sticky. I get it from Wawak, and it's super adhesive, so it was hard to remove it, so I'm not gonna do that. But if you have a double-sided tape that you're comfortable removing later on in the steps, just go ahead and do that. So I'm going to just pin in place, and you know when I say pin I actually mean use clips. We don't pin on bags, especially when you're using vinyl and non-woven materials. So this is the center, and I'm going to start by pinning this all around, making sure that my zipper tape stays nice and flat. You are pinning and you are attaching with double-sided tape on a curve. So make sure that you keep your zipper tape nice and flat. So because I'm not adding double-sided tape, I won't have to remove it. But I do agree that adding double-sided tape made this process a little easier. So if you can, go ahead and do it as instructed by Shannon in the pattern. So you should have something like this. I'm going to go ahead and baste it in place with about 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. following, following that nice curve. Okay, so this is stitched down, and the next step we're going to be working with the back panel instead of the lining. Shannon recommended that in her pattern because it's easier, and I will do what Shannon says to do. I trust her completely. There have been times, and hopefully she's not watching this video, but there have been times, and I think it was with the Aries pattern, that I thought, I don't need to follow that. I can do it myself. Boy, was I wrong. Boy, was I wrong. And I was messaging one of my friends saying, you never not listen to Shannon going forward, okay? Don't do that, because I thought I was smart and cocky and I can do it by skipping a few steps here and there. And I had to seam rip so much. It was a complete disaster, and it was 100% my fault, like 100% my fault. So now, if Shannon says we're going to do this, we're going to do this. We're not going to do the lining next. Okay, hope you found that a little bit funny, my Aries disaster. So I'm going to match the center here with the notch here. And we're going to be doing pretty much the same thing, only this time the curve will be a little more resistant than it was before. So add extra pins or use that double-sided tape if you can. So I'm starting from the center and then matching the edge of the zipper tape and the edge of the panel. I'm just pinning it in place. And continuing on the right side. It's going to want to resist a little bit, so push it, make sure it does what you want it to do, not what it wants to do. Okay, so it should look something like this. There's a little bit of bunching here because you're putting a straight edge on a curved panel, and that's perfectly normal. So let's go ahead and baste that in place. Make sure you don't catch any of the other side panel. And you follow that curve, keeping the edges aligned. I'm going to change my stitch length to about a 3 or 2.5, 3, because now we're going to actually sew it, not just baste it. So you will have your two panels like this. And now it's time to add the lining, and this is what I royally messed up the first time around. So make sure that you add the bottom lining, or like the front panel lining, to the front, and the back panel lining to the back. Okay, very important. So I'm going to triple check that this is the right one, this is the right one. So now you want to push the other panel and the zipper down so you can only see this edge, because you want to line this up right sides together. And I'm going to pin in place. You want to, again, make sure you don't catch the other side, the bottom panel. And again, I wouldn't recommend doing this all in one step. There are cases in which I like to just sandwich my zipper and stitch just one time. This is not one of those situations because it's a curve and it's a little resistant. You want all the extra help of the basting stitch we did before. If it's a straight line, then yeah, I would probably just sometimes feel comfortable enough to skip it, but not in this case. Okay, so you'll have something like this. The zipper and the other panel are not caught in any of this layering, and the top of the zipper tape is sandwiched between the main and the lining. So we're going to stitch this with a 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. So we're gonna get rather close to the actual zipper tape. And this time you want to make sure you backstitch at the beginning and at the end. And because I'm using black thread, you're going to be able to see it very well on this side. Here we go. So this is what it should look like. We're going to leave this for now, and we're going to do the other panel lining first, and then we'll be top stitching because we need to make a couple of snips. So repeat the same thing here, but on the other side, which means you're going to move this out of the way, the panel that we just stitched. We're going to move it out of the way, and we're going to place the lining right sides together with the main on the other side of the zipper tape, matching that center notch. And the same way, we're going to pin at the edge. Like so. Like this. So it will want, if you see, if I lay it down, it will want to curve, and that's what we want. That's exactly what we want. So it lays nice and round when we create the backpack. Let's stitch this with a 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. Backstitch at the beginning and at the end. I made a little boo there. I'm going to have to fix it. It will try to fight you a little bit because of the curve, and especially if you use thicker materials, it will try to fight you, but you're the boss here, not the vinyl. I ran off track a little bit. Pushing me off track. Okay, so it will look something like this. Disregard my little off track fixing there. Alright, so now we can top stitch, but before we do any top stitching, we need to make some very important snips, because you have two different curves right now. And when you don't want to top stitch as it is right now, because it will have a lot of bunching or a lot of pulling depending on which side of the curve you are. So we want to adjust that by making some snips, which make total sense if you think about it. So if you need to spread a surface that's straight, you're going to do some snips. If you want to make sure it doesn't bunch up, then you want to do some V-cuts. This way they can overlap and make the curve smaller. So it makes total sense, and that's key to making sure that this looks really nice. So this is the step in the pattern when you'll be removing the double-sided tape. Because I didn't add it, there's nothing to remove. But this is when you're going to be removing the double-sided tape, at least from where the curved parts are. So if you look here, you have somewhat straight, then a curve, then the center is somewhat straight, then a curve, then again some straight. And it's valid for both of them. So what you want to do is on the top panel, see, this one will require some stretching. So you want to do snips on the top panel around where the curve is. So about 3 inches. It's not a lot, but it makes a huge difference. So about 3 inches there, you want to make some snips through just the lining and the main. You do not want to snip the zipper tape. If you snip the zipper tape, it might unravel on you, and you definitely don't want that. And that's why you remove the tape. See, you want to make these snips right here. Focus. It keeps wanting to focus on my face. Okay, so you want these snips right here. Do not cut into the stitches, obviously, but they're big enough and spaced enough to spread that fabric when you top stitch it. See? So when you top stitch, you're gonna wanna push this open. So those snips will help it stay nice and open. See? Like this. And the same thing on the other side. So when the curve goes like this, you want to snip. When the curve goes like this, like a smile, you want to add darts. But for now, we're at the snipping part. Again, make sure you don't cut through the zipper tape. I'm only cutting, and if you're cutting through the basting that you did before, that's fine. As long as you don't cut through the new stitches, like the real stitches that you've made. And you're going to do the same thing on the lining, and you might actually be able to see it better on the lining here because it's white. And I will show you. I'm just making sure that I don't snip the zipper tape. Here. You see? So these are the snips. And on the other side, so this is where the top, the back part is. On the back, you're going to have the snips that will have it spread open. Now here, if you look, it's bunching up. You see, you can actually see it right here. We don't want this bunching when we top stitch, because then it will make like a wavy top stitching. So how do we fix this bunching? Is by making darts. Because if you make darts, when you bring it together to top stitch, they will kind of unite like this. So the excess fabric is already cut. So here, where you have this curve on both sides, about 3 inches on each side of where the curve is, we're going to do darts. So when they unite, we've removed the actual ball. And again, we're going to do the darts by making sure that we do not snip the zipper tape. And it is a lot easier to just take the time and do the darts with scissors than like any kind of pinking shear, because you also want them a little more pointy, if you will, like so. I'm holding the zipper tape down with my nail here to make sure I don't snip that. And again, if you're snipping through the basting tape you did before, that's not a problem. That's really not a problem, and it's actually encouraged, because it will help it open up a little bit. What you don't want to do is snip through the actual stitch you did. And it's worth doing this step. Don't skip it. Okay, let's do one more here. Okay, so this is what it will look like. See? Same thing on this side, and then we're going to repeat this snipping on the lining part. Some pointy scissors will help with this step. There you go. So this is on the other side. Let's repeat the steps on the lining, and this again will be a little easier to see. So this step of snipping probably added, let's say, 10 minutes if you're removing the double-sided tape. A little less if you don't have to. But these 10 minutes will make a huge difference in the final product. I am unfortunately want to try to skip corners here and there if I can, but this one, I'm telling you, as somebody who made mistakes and skipped corners before, this is a step you do not want to skip. It's totally worth the 10 minutes. And it's a good thing we're doing this so long, so it's like you're not almost at the end of the race and like, oh, I just want to get it done. No, we still have one more day and then a few catching up days. Yeah, so this is what it will look like. You can see it better on white. And we're going to repeat the same thing on the other side, and we're done with the snipping. Then we can go to top stitching. All right, so there you go, on both sides. Let's do two more. Okay, so now we can top stitch. Good job following this step. So when you pull it open right now, it's gonna lay so much nicer. See? The bulking is not as much. They're going to overlap nicely when you top stitch, so totally worth this step. So pull your lining in your main pot. Make sure it stays nice and flat. And we're going to go ahead and top stitch. Let me increase my length a little bit. And you're going to pull this so it stays nice and flat. Again, it will try to work against you, but you're still the boss. And depending on how stiff your vinyl or your materials are, it will have a lot more force than some, let's say, wovens. If you're making it in clear vinyl and you won't have a lining, you'll be adding some binding to this step, so make sure you follow those instructions. Nice and flat. Same thing on the front panel. Absolutely gorgeous. Gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. See how nice it stays when we're going to put it on the curve. There's no bunching here, there's no puckering. Lining is nice and flushed. Beautiful. Right, let's grab and work on the second part of the day. Let's add the zipper pulls. And I've decided to go with 2 zipper pulls, so I will have a double. If you were working with just one, you're obviously going to be adding just one. It's total personal preference. You don't have to have a double zipper pull. Make sure there's no puckering, so they meet nicely in the center and they don't create any kind of bubbles on one side. No, this one had a bubble. Easy fix. Okay, now it's good. So now when I pull them in the center, they meet and there is no puckering, no excess tape on one side. Alright, we're going to grab the main gusset and we're going to place it the right sides together. These should be the same size. Now, if you haven't taken the whole 3/8 of an inch of the zipper, which you should if possible, if you took a little less on each zipper tape, that's where the slight excess on each side will appear. And we're going to have to work with what we have. It's not the end of the world, but try to get as close as possible to the zipper tape if you can. So I'm going to pin this in place, right sides together. And if you do have a directional print, you can decide how you want it to be. So mine, I want it to be like this. So that means it will go like this here. So I'm going to pin just the zipper panel and the gusset right sides together. I'm not pinning the lining. See, the lining is loose. And same thing on the other side. I'm going to pin the zipper panel and the gusset. Because when I stitch, I want to pull that over. I don't want to stitch through all 3 layers. So I want to pull this away. So we can just do this if you want. Maybe put a little pin here on the other side, like so, because you don't want to stitch through the lining on this step. So we're going to stitch this down with a 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. Up until you get to that point where the lining meets the zipper, where the top stitching is. And you're going to skip that zipper and you're going to move to the other side doing the same stitch. And I did forget to reduce my length, but that's okay because we're going to stitch over it anyways. Okay, so this is what you should have. See, I've stitched here and here. And now what I want to do, actually let's leave this pin for now. On each side, so on each of these 2 sides, I'm going to go about 1/2 inch in and I'm going to snip only through the zipper panel. not the gusset. We're doing this step basically to reduce the bulk at where the gusset meets the zipper panel. So I did 2 snips here, and you want to fold this and stick it down with some double-sided tape. So I'm going to get some tape, half an inch of double-sided tape. And I want to stick it down here. See? Peel off the paper and stick that down. And there you go. See? So this is not cut, but the zipper panel is snipped here. Same thing on the other side. And there you go. Like so. Okay? Now you want to come to...
I don't know that.
Oops. I don't know what she, L-E-X-A, thought I said, but I said nothing that concerns her. Okay, so we're going to grab and make a little corner here. Just draw it on. That's about 75 inches in, 75.75 inch in, like so. On the wrong side of the lining. You see it? On both sides. Okay, so now I'm going to take some double-sided tape, some 1/8 of an inch double-sided tape, and add it to this corner. Like so. So to the outside. Peel it off. And you want to fold this corner to meet that marking you just did. Like this. Okay? So now when these will be together here, it's definitely a lot less bulk. Same thing on the other side. Adding some double-sided tape to the edges. Okay, and fold this in. And the double-sided tape will hold it. So now it's layered like this, and you want to grab your lining and you want to layer this on top like so. So now the zipper part is sandwiched in between the 2 gussets, right sides together, and you have reduced the extra bulk. So I'm going to pin this down and I'm going to stitch it all the way, like all the way. So we're going to stitch just like this on this side. So now everything is sandwiched nicely together. I'm going to go ahead and repeat the same exact steps on this side, on this, the other side of the gusset, and I will be right back so we can do some top stitching and be done for today. Okay, so both sides are now stitched. Both sides have the reduced bulk inside, and we are ready to flip this over. So now, when you flip it over, from the right side, you will see the beautiful zipper panel. What we want to do next is top stitch this part where the gusset meets the zipper panel on both sides. About 1/8 of an inch away from that fold. Apparently my camera decided to stop recording as I was focused on top stitching. So you do want to top stitch both sides. And then what I like to do is I like to turn this panel with the lining up, and I like to top stitch all around these two outer edges, catching all the layers together. This will definitely come in handy tomorrow when we put the front and the back panels together. So let's go ahead and top stitch those panels. I'm using 4 length for this basting stitch, and I'm going all around that panel. So now the lining and the main will be one. Repeat on the other side, and when you turn it, now it's nice and one round piece. And this is it for today. You've completed day 4. This will be your middle panel. Beautifully nice and flat, all stitched together, perfect for us tomorrow to finish our Rosie sling. So go ahead and snap a photo of your beautiful panel and post it in the day 4 photo of the sew along album. The sew along album for the Rosie is in the Backstitch backroom on Facebook. Link will be in the description of the video below. Comment with your progress in day 4. That will count as your check-in today. And I will see you back here tomorrow when we'll put together the whole bag. Talk to you soon. Bye.